And welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy99.7 FM in Accra. In Kumasi, it's on Love 99.5 FM and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on Clenham Radio in Bato, A1 Radio in Bolgatanga, ATL FM in Cape Coast, Radio Max in Takrade. You can go digital on Spotify, myjoyonline.com app, also on Facebook. In this edition, officials in the Upper East region step up security along the border with Burkina Faso and Togo after an unknown gunman set fire to a taxi and burnt the driver alive.
They actually saw the car on flame. They tried to quench the fire, and after they finished doing that, they realized that there is a body in the car, which was burned beyond recognition.
We have details of that. Also this afternoon, President Akufo-Addo leads a national campaign to restore Ghana's fast depleting forest cover with an ambitious target of planting 20 million additional trees.
Even though 20 million may sound like a lot, it is nowhere near what we have lost over the years. Trees, and indeed forests, are necessary for our own survival.
We're live across the country for updates on the 5 million trees planted in 2021 and also hear from conservationists on who want government to restore Achimota Forest to a reserve status.
Rescind Executive Instrument 144. Save the Achimota Forest. Say no to the declassification of the Achimota Forest as a forest reserve.
Also, mobile network operator Airtel Tigo says rising telecom equipment theft poses threat to national security with nearly 70 theft cases in the last 2 years alone.
We are providing like Airtel Tigo money as a service. We are providing voice service. We are providing enterprise service to businesses. When these cases happen, all the services go down.
Also in this package, find out why operators of ride-hailing services in Ghana are plotting to boycott foreign systems and introduce a local platform.
So we are waiting. If by the end of June we don't hear anything, we give an ultimatum maybe 2 or 3 months from now, and then we boycott it.
We have more as the drivers lament the increased cost of fuel, which is draining their already meager profits.
Which is making the way very difficult. But their prices are now kind of low, and the fuel is just going up. So I think they should raise the cost of their fuel, their prices, so that if not that they should reduce the percentage a little bit lower, so that it should.
In sports.
Black Stars torn apart by Japan in four-nation tournament as Otodo suffers heavy defeat since assuming helm as technical head of the Black Stars.
We'll give you details of that match shortly. And who deserves to earn ex gratia? We hear the views of former Council of State member Togbe Afede, who has been in the news this week.
The parliamentarians may have to leave whatever they were doing to serve the nation for a period. If they will no more return to parliament, then maybe they need to give some end of service benefits.
We have these and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apawu. We're your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Please stay for details. In our very first story for this afternoon, officials in Pusiga in the Upper East region say they are stepping up security at the country's border with Burkina Faso and Togo after unknown gunmen stopped and burned a taxi driver alive. District Chief Executive for Pusiga, Abdullahi Zubeiru, has been speaking to my colleague Samuel Imbura, who says the attack has come as a surprise to residents.
I was in the office and I got a call from a resident that they saw a car burn along the Widana highway. I quickly called the security officers to rush in and then see what the issue was. So they got in there, they actually saw the car on flames. They tried to quench the fire, and after they finished doing that, they realized that there is a body in the car which was burned beyond recognition.
Was it an accident or it was an attack?
The security officers got in there and the car was already on fire. And at that point, they could not find anybody around the vicinity of the incident. But according to them, they said an eyewitness who was very far away in his farm explained the issue to them, which seemed to be an attack.
So you don't know whether these were armed robbers or what exactly they were looking for?
Yes, I think the security are doing their investigations and they are yet to feed me with the actual cause of the the attack.
So as a District Security Council chairman, how worried are you about the situation? Has the situation sent some shivers down the spines of your people?
Actually, our people were so surprised to see what has happened, but we have assured them that the Security Council is up and they are doing so much to ensure that such incidents do not repeat itself within the jurisdiction.
It is worrying because this incident has happened at a time that there is heavy sensitization on terrorist alerts in the country. And your district is a border district. How are you tightening your security measures to ensure that the people are protected?
There are so many plans that we have already put in place along the borders to ensure that we don't allow in people that we don't know. And all the security set up are doing so much with that regard. And I can assure you that we have not so much complaints since we started putting in those measures.
You heard there the Pusiga District Chief Executive Abdullahi Zubairu there speaking to my colleague Samuel Imbura. We'll stay on the borders at this time to Ghana, Ivory Coast, and they've agreed a framework for the implementation of the International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea ruling. After 3 years of disagreement over the boundary line between the two countries, the International Tribunal ruled in favor of Ghana in the Atlantic Ocean. Speaking at a ceremony to commemorate African Border Day at Côte d'Ivoire, coordinator of the Ghana Boundaries Commission, Major General Emmanuel Kotia, said the two countries have also agreed to establish joint land and maritime boundary committees for a smooth redemarcation of disputed boundaries.
With a land boundary with Côte d'Ivoire, we also share a common maritime boundary. Since March this year, Ghana and the Côte d'Ivoire Boundary Commission held a series of meetings, and the maiden meeting was at the beginning of March. And both commissions have agreed to establish joint land boundary committee for harmonization and peaceful redemarcation of land boundaries, establishment of a joint maritime committee for the implementation of any decision on maritime boundary agreement between the two countries. And then we've also agreed to come out with a framework for the implementation of the ITFLUS ruling and other initiatives so far as this arrangement is concerned. And let me mention that we are scheduled to have a joint meeting with the National Boundary Commission of La Côte d'Ivoire in July to deliberate and set up these committees physically at that meeting. There are a number of joint efforts or activities that we envisage that is going to take place within the year, especially during the second half of the year with the National Boundary Commission of Côte d'Ivoire. We're going to have joint efforts for the reaffirmation of some land boundary areas, especially Dollar Power. We are going to have joint efforts along the Bia River in the middle to the northern part of Ghana, on the western part of.
That's Major General Emmanuel Kotia there. He's the coordinator of the Ghana Boundaries Commission. My colleague Maxwell Agbagba is there for us, joins us on the line. Maxwell, we understand the Western Regional Minister has just finished addressing the gathering and amongst others raising concerns about terrorist threat in the region. Tell us more.
Yes, Emefa. So the Western Regional Minister, Kwabena Otuo has been urging citizens of Côte d'Ivoire to collaborate with Ghanaian security agencies so together they can deal with the threat of terrorism that West African coastal states are facing now. He's been addressing the crowd here, and he mentioned to them that in Ghana we've launched Operation If You See Something, Say Something, and he's urging the citizens to be on the lookout and report to their own security agencies if they suspect any suspicious movement, of people. But the national coordinator of the Ghana Boundary Commission has also been speaking, like you rightly mentioned. He said that in line with cross-border governance, the Ghana Boundary Commission has engaged its counterpart commissions in neighboring countries to undertake activities towards securing the country's international boundaries. These activities, he says, include negotiations with Togo on a long-standing maritime dispute between Ghana and Togo, and an ongoing reaffirmation of land boundary pillars along the eastern international boundary line with Togo.
That's my colleague Maxwell Agbagba reporting from that event to commemorate the African Border Day at La Côte d'Ivoire. Well, back here this afternoon, President Akufo-Addo is leading a national campaign to restore Ghana's fast-depleting forest cover with an ambitious target of planting some 20 million trees. In just the last 10 years alone, the country lost more than 100,000 acres of forest cover to urbanization, logging and illegal mining. Experts are predicting food shortage and worsened climatic conditions if the trend is not halted. Speaking at a ceremony to mark Green Ghana Day, President Akufo-Addo said the country is racing against time to reclaim the lost forest cover.
That we must leave generations unborn, no matter their political affiliation, with a greener, sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, this year our target is to plant at least 20 million trees. Even though 20 million may sound like a lot, it is nowhere near what we have lost over the years. Trees, and indeed forests, are necessary for our own survival and that of our planet. They furnish us with water, food, and oxygen, and they mitigate climate change to provide us with a livable climate. They prevent erosion, protect our water bodies from siltation and drying up, serve as sources of medicine, make available habitats for wildlife and microorganisms, constitute windbreaks, regulate atmospheric temperature and climate change, give us clean air for good health, and offer sources of livelihoods for many of our people.
Well, Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu-Jinapor announced additional measures to halt the export of rosewood and other timber species.
Zones to enhance carbon stocks and improve the livelihoods of rural communities. We are also aggressively implementing the Ghana Red Plus strategy to ensure that specific ecological zones of our country and their economic activities are linked to sources of climate finance based on their unique drivers of deforestation. Mr. President, in October 2019, you graciously launched the first program under the Red Plus strategy, the Ghana Cocoa Forest Red Plus program, to restore our lost forest cover in the high forest zone, increase cocoa yields, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And in February this year, the Vice President launched the Ghana Share Landscape Emission Reductions Project to, among others, increase the share tree population in the Savannah Ecological Zone, restore degraded lands, create small and medium enterprises for women in the share value chain. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, given that we have already lost over 80% of our forest cover since 1900, our second approach to the management of the forest and wildlife resources of our country is an aggressive afforestation and reforestation program to complement the work we are doing to halt deforestation. Between 2017 and 2021, a total of 547,891.7 hectares of degraded forest lands were cultivated under the Ghana Forest Plantation Strategy.
Well, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister has been planting trees at the Achimota Forest, which recently had portions declassified as a forest reserve, and it's got a lot of us talking. Well, environmentalist and CEO of Green Butterfly, Yasmin Helwani, wants government to restore the forest to its reserve status. She spoke on the AM show.
So our government, we do not want double standards. Don't stand somewhere and tell us you're going to plant so many trees, yet you are robbing us of the very foundation, our forests that are already marked as forest reserves. That we will not rescind Executive Instrument E144. Currently, we have eco-conscious citizens standing at the Achimota Forest. We are going to be showing our placards and the banners. We want Mr. Abu-Jinapor to look at the messages as he passes by to go and plant the tree in a place that is being declassified as a forest reserve. What an irony, Mr. Jinapor, and begging the president to rescind Executive Instrument 144. Save the Achimota Forest. say no to the declassification of the Achimota Forest as a forest reserve.
Well, Presidential Affairs Correspondent Elton Brobe has been monitoring the Green Ghana Day event. He joins us live with more on this. First, Elton, I'm sure the Minister has been giving us a report on the trees planted last year. What does it look like?
So, if according to Abunyanapo, last year the target was 5 million, but the country ended up planting 7 million seedlings. Now, 80% of them survived, which according to him is a positive sign that if well preserved, we'll be able to maintain the trees and get them to go to the level that the country expects. So it is based on that they decided to escalate the target from 5 million last year to 20 million this year. And as you may be aware, the planting started at the Emefa Insurance Park. The minister himself was at the Achimota Forest to plant trees together with officials of the Forestry Commission. And the addition to this, according to him, is the inclusion of commercial trees alongside non-commercial trees so that they go together to help preserve our forest cover.
20 million, quite a huge target. We have plans on keeping them alive?
Well, basically, according to him, the Ministry of Agriculture has extension officers. The Forestry Commission has technical officers across the country. Their main task is to monitor the progress and the growth of the trees that were planted today. And based on the feedback from last year, they are using that as, the benchmark to ensure that they are able to monitor the 20 million that will be planted today and the rest of the days and ensure that they go up to the level that is expected.
Okay, that's Presidential Affairs Correspondent Elton Brobe. Elsewhere, checks on some of the trees planted along the median of popular roads in Kumasi just a year ago have died due to poor management. Nanaya Ojima joins us on the line with more. Nanaya, what's the situation?
So, Emefa, we did some checks on the medians, the trees planted within the medians, and from our checks, we realized that some of the trees couldn't develop very well. And interaction with some of the people who trade along these roads revealed that with some of the trees, vehicles would run into them and kill them completely. With others, due to lack of proper maintenance or anybody to supervise their development, that's why some of them couldn't develop as expected. But there are some areas that you realize that some of the trees planted there are doing very well, especially the places which are protected. For instance, those planted within schools and also the Kumasi Golf Club.
Well, that's my colleague Nanaya Ojima there. We also told that the Santehene Otumfo Seitu this morning also joined dignitaries, including the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah and Mayor of Kumasi Sampain, to plant trees to mark this year's Green Ghana Day. Now, the Ghana Online Drivers Union say they will boycott foreign ride-hailing apps in 2 months if their demands for better working conditions and improved wages are not met. The drivers say the cost of driving around has nearly doubled, whereas their profits continue to dwindle. They are also asking the companies to reduce their service charge to 15%, else they will defect to local-based companies. We'll hear from President of the Ghana Online Drivers Association first. Here are some of the drivers who share their frustrations.
Before it was somewhere 7 cities or but now it's almost 10.10. Well, first, when I buy for like 100 cedis, I would work like 250, 300. But now, if you buy like 150, if you don't even take it, you can't even work like 300 cedis, which is making the way very difficult. But their prices are nowadays kind of low, and the fuel is just going up. So I think they should raise the cost of the fuel, their prices, so that if not that, they should reduce the percentage a little bit lower, so that it will favor with the drivers.
Something that I call 50, 25, 25. So 50% is like your fuel. Say you buy fuel of about 100 cedis, you drive for, you make about 200 cedis. That 200 cedis, if you take out your 100 cedis, which you spend on fuel, you are only left with 100. So you give 25% to the service provider, which is either Bolt, Uber, and also the 25% for yourself. So when you are being hit with, say, a damage to your car, you have to service your car and all that. It's out of this 25% you have to, take something from, and it's quite stressful.
We can now hear from President of the Ghana Online Drivers Association, Francis Tinge.
The job is not easy. The challenges are one, most riders cancel the trip too much. you are going to pick a rider maybe 6-7 kilometers away. You drive, you halfway through, and then the rider cancels the trip. Of late, we have too much high fuel. It's at the cost of the driver. It's also another challenge. We don't even see the rider, the identification. We don't know who we are going to pick. We don't even know who is that. Some of them use nickname, the destination, where the person is going. We also don't know. And then the pricing too. Security features also another problem. So at the end of the day, the driver has got nothing. It's already at a loss.
You hear the online drivers president, Mr. Tingi there. We'll take a quick break here on the Midday News, live on Joy 99.7 FM, also on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. We're also live on Facebook and myjoyonline.com, and over 30 affiliates dotted across Ghana's 16 regions. We've been looking at the situation in the Upper East region, where officials there have been forced to step up security along the border with Burkina Faso and Togo after unknown gunmen set fire to a taxi and burnt the driver alive. When we return, we have sports, the very latest on that Ghana-Japan game, and then also who deserves to earn ex gratia. We hear the views of former Council of State member Agbogbo Mafia of Asogli State, Togbe Afede, who has been in the news this week.
Parliamentarians may have to leave whatever they were doing to serve the nation for a period. If they will no more return to Parliament, then maybe they need to give some end of their benefits.
Yama Wakwaba, ba Akwaba Magic Busia, brand new channel, Tia Roba, Emuno Tiao, Ewo DSTV channel 149, and Go TV channel 108. Enianom Akwaba Magic Busia, Eddie Nidia Ghanaian programs mu Baufi, a bit to set the day, to have and to hold, and Yom Senior Cassia, series and a talk show, Bemo Wakao TV set Nichi, Akwaba Magic Busia, Ewo DSTV access to your 50 Ghana cities per and Go TV value to your 25 Ghana cities per Ebusia Akwaba.
It's time for sports here on the Midday News, and he's yet to plant his tree, though. I have mine here. You can see on Facebook, but you've been watching the game. What's the update? Whilst we're busy planting trees,
Ghana lost 4-1 to Japan.
What?
Ghana lost 4-1 to Japan.
4-1. Are you sure you watched the game well?
Yeah, I did. I watched it very well. Jordan Ayew finally broke his dark of failing to score for the Black Stars. So he scored a consolation goal for Ghana in the first half as the team lost 4-1. It's a four-nation tournament. So on Tuesday, they'll come up against Chile, because Chile also lost their opening game to Tunisia. So the Black Stars, they're using that as a preparatory ground for the FIFA World Cup, because there are many FIFA international windows for countries to prepare. So the FA feels that this is an opportunity to get the team ready for the World Cup.
Interesting. And Otuado is unhappy about this.
Definitely, he's unhappy. Though he played with a depleted squad, he feels that the boys could have done well. But this just gives him an idea to know who fits in and who will not be part of his team for the World Cup.
How about the foreign stars we are lining up? When are they starting?
Well, that's quite an interesting question. What I do know is that Tariq and Inaki Williams are as close to switching nationality to the Black Stars, but that of Column is still not clear yet.
Okay, let's see if they hold the magic wand. Thank you very much, Muftau, for the latest from the world of sports. Now, mobile network operator Airtel Tigo says rising cases of telecom equipment theft can plunge the country into chaos and pose a threat to national security. Tigo alone has experienced nearly 70 of such incidents in the last 2 years alone. Ohiming Teria of our security desk was in court when the two men who were part of this theft appeared in court.
Mobile telephony firms continue to feel the negative impact of equipment and material theft at their sell sites. Felix Dugan Apri and his accomplice, identified only as Ano, posed as engineers of Airtel Tigo, climbed the company's mast and succeeded in allegedly removing a radio transceiver equipment at the cell site at Edmeti in the Ashanti region on April 20, 2022. Some workers of the firm blew the alarm, leading to their arrest. The duo made their second appearance before a Kumasi Circuit Court on Thursday and were granted bail in the sum of 200,000 Ghana cedis with two sureties to be justified. The court asked police prosecutors to furnish Defense Counsel with all disclosures and witness statements to set the stage for case management conference. Director, Network Service Operations and Enterprise at Airtel Tigo, Stephen Zoroaster, bemoaned the frequency at which installations of telcos have come under attack.
Since August 2020, we have had 68 cases, 68 theft cases where they go and they scatter everything, sometimes everything in our cabinets. We need to replace all the equipment stolen, and that takes money. Sometimes they need to be manufactured by the original equipment manufacturers, and all this takes time to get done. And imagine the impact on the people whilst these services are still down.
That's Ohiming Terrier's report. Now, Africa Education Watch says government failed to meet most of its education midterm development plans over the last 4 years. Data showed only 65% of all schools had computer laboratories and internet connectivity. However, more than a third of these labs are non-functional. Here's Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare.
65% of the schools in the schools we said had ICT facilities. Majority of them were located in the Nile district, that's 50%. But only 38% of the ICT facilities were working. Only 38%. Computers in Boedibe 5 years, 10 years, and so that it doesn't work. And out of this, only 15% were located in the private districts. It means that we have a lot of work to do in terms of extending ICT facilities, to our schools, especially in the private district. But even in urban districts, only 38% of the schools have working ICT facilities. So that's one area we need to improve.
That's Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch. Now, who deserves to earn ex gratia? Former Council of State member and Agbogbo of the Asogli State, Togbi Afede, the 14th, says members of Parliament and other public sector workers may deserve payment of ex gratia. He explained that this is because they abandon their full-time jobs to serve the nation. The issue of ex gratia has become topical this week since Togbi Afede refunded more than 300,000 cedis paid him as ex gratia to the state. In an exclusive interview with Joy News, the Agbogbo Mafia explained why he believes part-time service to the state does not deserve such payment, but full-time work does.
There may be good reason to pay ex gratia, awards or end of service awards to certain categories of government workers, public workers. For example, parliamentarians may have to leave whatever they were doing to serve the nation for a period. Okay, so if they will no more return to Parliament, there may be the need to give some end of service benefit.
For him, the Council of State serves a useful purpose, but it must be reformed to reduce presidential appointments.
Council of State is a nice proposition that's been messed up by the composition. If it can be made to meet the expectations of the framers of our constitution, it can be a good addition to the various organs and institutions of states. The number of members that are appointed by the president leaves a lot to be desired.
Agbogbo Mafia of the Asogli State, Togbi Afede, the 14th. Now, for the past 10 years, prisoners have been fed on 1 Ghana cedis 80 pesos daily. What nutritious meal can this actually provide? In their doctoral thesis, a nutritionist with the service, Chief Superintendent Dr. Augustina Amabwedu, looked into the effect of this. She says some prisoners end up in a riot to get attention because they are hungry. A Joy News Hotline documentary by Seth Kwame Boateng, Rotten in Jail, looks up to this.
This limited financial support given to the Ghana Prison Service negatively impacts everything, especially the quality of the food, which ultimately contributes to poor health. The World Health Organization is particular about this. So on nutrition for prisoners, it argues that the quality and quantity of food available in prison has a major influence on the quality of a prisoner's life. Also, the availability of safe and healthy food is essential in maintaining and improving prisoners' health.
At times, what you eat is a problem, because the kind of food that they bring, even dogs, excuse me to say, dogs even reject that food. You don't have any option than to eat it.
The 80%, there's nothing like nutritious meal. It can happen.
In
In Ghana, for the past 10 years, prisoners have been fed on 1 cedi 80 pesos daily. What nutritious meal can this provide?
We build up to Rotten in Jail. That hotline documentary put together by Seth Kwame Boateng there, ending today's edition of the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. A story is making a headline: pro-LGBTQ plus billboard on Tema motorway removed. There's some George assets, some people live by their stomachs. Togwe Afede on Paula Dumotri's ex-gracious sessions also blame Finance Minister for Accra flood, Doma West MP. That and more on myjoyonline.com. Living Word with Pastor Salterbill is up next. I am Emefa Apawu. Many thanks for your company. Enjoy the weekend.
Hello, please. Am I speaking to Miss Joanna Kuma?
Yes, please.
My name is Philip and I'm calling from MTN. Someone has just sent you money.